Pete. You were not ready.
Welcome to Bashy Live, everybody. Apparently, I was not ready. I thought I was ready. My mic wasn't even ready. Guys, welcome to the show. It's going to be a great guest today, Matt Becker. Originally from Pennsylvania, Tennessee transplant, making his way over on the Bass Pro Tour, doing amazing work, and had just a big week this week out at Saginaw Bay. He picked up the AOY. He picked it up against some of the toughest competitors that there are, including Jacob Wheeler, who was breathing down his neck, as well as overcame the GOAT, which is probably the hardest thing to do ever in fishing. The great KVD, who led the event going into the last day, and Matt came from back in the pack a little bit to overtake Kevin, to overtake Jacob, to take the AOY, and won the tournament doing it. It's just amazing week. And we're going to be talking to Matt here shortly. A lot of you may be new to Matt Becker, right? He's relatively new on the scene, and just making a name for himself big time. Especially in the last week. Obviously, he's had a great season. We're going to be talking about all the bodies of water and all of his great success this year. Thrilled to have him as a Bass University instructor. As a matter of fact, our own Riz worked with Matt this classic, and we've got a great tight lining seminar from Matt Becker that he delivered for Bass University that we're going to be releasing in the very, very near future.
Yep.
Well done, Riz.
Stay tuned for that one coming out next week. Yeah, so Matt's got a pretty cool story. He's he's a Pennsylvania guy, and he's really worked his way up through the MLF ranks and previously the FLW ranks. And I'm excited to talk with him a little bit about that, because if you go to his Bassmaster stats, he only has 2 Bassmaster events under his belt.
Wow.
Meanwhile, he's made almost $800,000 fishing on the MLF side of things. That includes 3 major wins, a 2017 win out on the St. Lawrence River, a 2021 win on the Tackle Warehouse Pro Tour, as well as a Toyota Series Angler of the Year in 2021 in the Northern Division. And then this week, just a few days ago, he decided to add in a couple more feathers to his cap with a win in the MLF Bass Pro Tour win on Saginaw Bay, and as well as an Angler of the Year title. So, this guy's really got a lot of wins and a lot of successes under his belt. So I'm excited to talk with him, Pete, about kind of the road and the journey. And, he made some bold moves in his career. He decided to stay strictly on the MLF, previously FLW route. And he made a move from Pennsylvania to Tennessee. Like, what does that look like? How do you just up and take everything and roll? It's
the dream. It's a dream of all anglers to do that, right? Just to pack it up and take it on, moving south. So many have done that, and he's another one. Let's see. Going to be a great story. Looking forward to hearing. It is a great story. Matt Becker, fresh off his AOY win at Saginaw Bay.
Yep.
Guys, get your questions together for Matt. We're going to be passing those questions along. We've got some great prizes for all of you guys today, so pay attention to what we talk about today, because we're going to be asking a Bass U style question, and we'll be giving away a grand prize, which is what?
We have some lovely Cortland line braid,
yes.
and our missile baits. They're the Rusty Crawl.
Yes. Custom baits, only available at Tackle Direct. We're brought to you by Tackle Direct Studios, but this is a really cool custom bait called Rusty Crawl. We're going to be giving these away, and if you would like to get them, the fish have not seen them. I guarantee it. It's only available at Tackle Direct right now. We also have a like and share, of course, our great partners with Waterwood, who build amazing handmade crankbaits. These are super tough, and their shapes and actions are the best in the business. They're crafted after some of the best crankbaits that were ever crafted. So check them out. Waterwood Custom Baits. Like and share the feed, and we're going to be hooking you guys up with one of you guys up with some waterwood crankbaits. So that's what we got going on. We also, if you guys haven't subscribed yet, get over and get that done. We're going to take a quick break. We're bringing on Matt Becker, and we're going to be talking with him. So if you haven't subscribed, we have a blow up bonanza going on right now, which for annual subscribers, we have a great gift pack with some great Rapala top water baits and some other really cool stuff at Bash University. Go over to bashu.tv and get yourself signed up, and we're going to be giving away some cool prizes to you guys.
You won't regret it, guys. It's if you haven't dove into the world of the Bash University and Bash UTV, man, it's such great information. Everything from the mental side of fishing to technique specific content, as well as even lake specific content. Like if you're a guy that lives out, say, in Texas, and you're close to Lake Fork or Sam Rayburn or any of those East Texas lakes, we got you. We got Lee Livesey out on Lake Fork actually fishing with on-water content. We have seminars from Keith Combs that he's focused, he really gives some deep dives on, his bodies of water, and that applies to all over. We have our instructor lineup is all the top guys, everybody that's the best at what they're doing in the sport. That's who we're working with. So, it's a well worth investment if you are serious about your bass fishing.
Or you just want to get better, honestly. The content is there. We built it to help you guys catch more and bigger fish, help take you to the next level. And I'm so excited. We have Matt Becker teaching, and we're going to be releasing that soon at Bash UTV. Thrilled that we have him as a guest on today. So we're going to take a real quick break. We're going to be right back with MLF's AOY, Matt Becker, right after this.
Cortland Line Master Braid, America's premium super braided fishing line. Manufactured in our Cortland, New York facility and constructed from the highest quality Spectra fibers available. Cortland Line Company, made in America since 1915.
I have to have the best eyewear.
My eyes are essential to doing my job.
It's the highest quality lens that I've ever used.
Top of the line performance in these glasses.
But they're priced for absolutely everyone. The everyday angler can afford them.
As a touring professional pro, if I can depend on them, I know the weekend angler can as well. Hobie eyewear, built for the pros.
Price for everyone.
What's going on? It's Riz here from the Bash University, and I am excited to welcome in Waterwood Custom Baits to the Bashu family. These are custom handmade baits in the South Rainforest of Brazil. They're made of Marupa pedra wood. It's extremely dense, it's resistant, but it's also really buoyant. They're made of quality components with a 100% guarantee. They're made for tournament anglers to get it done when the money is on the line. Guys, that was like my second cast with this bait. That's a Waterwood custom bait. These things are handmade in the rainforest south of Brazil. And I mean, as you can see right here, it's a fish catching bait. It's got the front hook. That means they wanted it. This bait's, it's running really true. It throws really well. Guys, check them out at waterwoodcustombaits.com.
The leader in underwater viewing technology. Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. AquaView. Seeing is believing.
Why do you love casting fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA.
Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flip and stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out there in a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worming series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
On the water, not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together. The One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Welcome back to Bass University Live, everybody. Very excited about today's show. We have the MLF AOY coming on. Matt Becker, fresh off of his win at Saginaw Bay, and thrilled to have him. I know he's traveling, and we're tying up his practice a little bit, Riz. So let's get him on. There he is. I see it. He's you just got your big trophy. I see him in the back. And you just pack those trophies up, and you're already off to the next tournament site, Matt.
Yeah, I can't get enough. You know, I just love bass fishing so much. I left Saginaw Bay and drove over 11 hours here to the St. Lawrence River, and now I'm about to head out and catch a few more smallmouth. So I just can't get enough of those big, beautiful smallmouth.
I'm guessing you're going to be taking those trophies everywhere you go now.
Oh yeah, I've been sleeping with them for sure. No, they've been riding buckled up in the back seat and just making sure we get them home safe. You know, it's I keep looking back at them, making sure that it's real. It seemed like a dream here the last couple of days. So having them right there to keep looking back at it just makes it feel more real for me.
Well, it was a tremendous event. Big giant congratulations for that. You overcame, and I know I said it in the open of the show, but man, you overcame some monsters. You had, Jacob Wheeler breathing down your neck for the AOY. Of course, you had to run down KVD, who had an amazing day one of the finals, and you had to run. You overcame so much. You earned every bit of those trophies, and just a huge congratulations to you. Job well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was really special, especially the way it all went down. You know, to be fishing, even just be in the final day, the top 10, the final tournament of Kevin Van Dam's career. I mean, that guy's the greatest of all time. So it was just special being there. And then about halfway through the day, I start catching a few fish, and I'm like, I could actually beat Kevin Van Dam on his last day of competition. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's something I could keep with me for the rest of my life. And it kind of gave me a little extra edge there for the afternoon. And I'm like, I want to make that happen. You know, I want to be there. You know, a little tiny bit of me felt a little bad about spoiling his retirement party, you know, but on the other hand, like, he's a competitor just as I am, and he wouldn't want it any other way. He wouldn't want anyone to lay up and let him win or anything. So we had to give him everything we got. And then on the Angler of the Year side as well, I mean, golly, the guys caught him so good this year. You know, Jacob Wheeler's the hottest angler in the world right now, and he is at the top of the standings every single year. And Ott Defoe, and have both of those guys, all three of us, make the top 10. We are essentially tied starting the final day. So we're all sitting there tied, all still have a shot at Angler of the Year. You know, even Alton Jones Jr. had a great year, and he was still mathematically alive heading into the final day. So it was a really exciting day for the sport, for bass fishing, for Angler of the Year, for the fans. I mean, I couldn't imagine watching that, you know. it had to be pretty special.
It was special to watch. I think the viewership was probably as big as it gets, and because so much was on the line, and then of course you had the KVD magic to it as well, and it was fascinating to go through the math with it as the JT and the boys were commenting. At a point, you and Jacob Wheeler were tied for AOY, and the mathematically, like if you finished in a tie, I guess he would have won the first two tiebreakers. So you had to beat him. You had to finish ahead of him, which you did decisively, which is impossible to do. But you're exactly right. To fish a whole season and to have 4 players in a position to win that AOY on the last day, I mean, that may never happen again.
Yeah, it was a special year for sure. And I mean, to come down to the end like that, it was really special. And to come out on top just means so much more to me, just because of the way it all went down. And I mean, it's my first year on the Bass Pro Tour, so like it's gonna be hard to top this for sure.
So there's a Rookie of the Year in the mix in here too.
I guess. I mean,
Is there no award for it?
This Angler of the Year trophy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Angler of the Year, you're obviously Rookie of the Year as well.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And that's something, because if I'm not mistaken, which I often am mistaken, but I think KVD, his rookie season, he was AOY in his rookie season too.
No
way. What a crazy stat. Ken Duke, you're gonna have to check my facts on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it went down.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Right? Yeah, that is really crazy. And what a fun event to watch. You made it such a fun event to watch. You came, you were a little bit down and a few pounds behind, and to have to come back and overtake Kevin and all the rest. You did it in kind of a really special way by having a giant stringer, but it seemed like every day you had to make an adjustment to do well in this tournament.
Yeah, Saginaw Bay is such a diverse fishery. I mean, really the Great Lakes in general, it's all about decision making and playing the conditions and the weather, but Saginaw Bay just kind of added another element to that with the largemouth being in play and different wind directions. There's not a whole lot of current in there. And I mean, there's so many factors that go into that bay or our playing field there. Our off limits was one that really there wasn't a whole lot of smallmouth water available in our playing field. So there was, one area that had a decent amount of smallmouth, but a lot of people found it, and they were getting a lot of pressure. So as the week went on, those fish kind of slowed down and got really smart. The pressure got to them. They stopped biting. And obviously the largemouth fishing is incredible there. I mean, there is no problem to go catch 30, 40, 50 largemouth throughout the day. Straight braid, heavy rod, just having a great time catching them, power fishing and having fun. So all of those factors are going through my mind, and really all of it played a factor in this tournament win. So if we want to dive into that, I could kind of go through how each day went and go from there.
Yeah, I would like to dive into that, but I see, Rich, you're playing around with some really cool images. I don't know. Can you bring that KVD image back up in short fashion?
No, geez.
Yeah, this image is amazing. We're talking about this. Tell it. I mean, this is a really young Matt Becker here with the goat. Tell us about this picture.
Yeah, that is the Bassmaster Classic in 2005 in Pittsburgh. So I grew up around Pittsburgh. I just recently moved to Tennessee, so Pittsburgh's home for me. And, I'll never forget that when the Bassmaster Classic came in 2005, I still have a bunch of pictures. I even have autographed cards and, all that kind of stuff from that tournament somewhere in the house that, all the guys I'm fishing against now, we got plenty of autographs and pictures and stuff signed from all the guys I'm fishing against now from that classic. But at that point, I just was ate up with fishing, but I had no idea I would ever be here today. I mean, it's pretty crazy to come full circle and then to be fishing against Kevin on his last day and to come out on top. I mean, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah, that's obviously special. Kevin influenced so many people in the sport of fishing, myself included. And wow, what a neat deal to see you at such a young age and to be in the spot you're in right now. I know we had some IM questions for Matt early on. Why don't you go ahead and share some of those?
You kind of touched on it, but Will Shelby said, we know you're a big KVD fan, and we've seen your picture of him when you were really young by winning this tournament. Was it bittersweet for you, or were you in the mindset that you finally beat someone you've looked up to for such a long time?
It was a little bit of both. Like I said, I was like just a tiny little bit. I felt bad about ruining his retirement party. I mean, what a storybook ending it would have been to have Kevin win his final tournament and go out on top. But on the other hand, like the point I'm at in my career, like I needed that win. It's going to be a huge help for me, my brand, my career, and my competitive side. Of course, like if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. So like anytime you can beat the best anglers in the world, like it means so much to me, and it's just makes it that much more special. So to go 1-2 with Kevin in his final event, it's pretty crazy. And you know, even throughout the day, the final day there, you know, I have the lead, and in my mind, I'm thinking about how many other anglers have been Van Dam through the years where they get their first win stolen by Kevin Van Dam. And I'm like, oh geez, it's going to happen. Like he's going to pull something out somewhere and he's going to steal this one from me. But I'm just glad it didn't happen that way, that I got him back for all the guys that got Van Dammed over the years.
Count me in that group. You know, it was amazing. And I love this piece that MLF did where they did a pre-interview with all of you guys, like I guess before the final day. And that was a similar style question. Like, you know, would you lay down or, you know, are you going to lay down if Kevin has a chance to win or something like that? And all the top 10 answered almost verbatim of what you just answered is Kevin wouldn't want that.
No.
You know?
No. I mean, like I said, if you want to win, you want to earn it. You know, you want to beat everyone and just come out on top the right way and, you know, make sure that you did it your way and you beat everybody and there's no question, no laying up or anything like that.
Yeah. He wouldn't want to win that way, and any serious competitor wouldn't want to win that way. And everybody gave him the respect, and you're showing the respect by going out there and giving it your best, you know. And that's what you had to do, and you did, and you won it in dramatic fashion, and it was incredible. Let's let's talk about it a little bit. I know we started touching on it, but man, what a great win! You largemouth, smallmouth. To get to the qualifying rounds, were you doing both species or were you just largemouth centric? What got you into the finals?
Yeah, so let's back up. Heading into the tournament, you know, heading into practice, I wasn't even thinking about winning the tournament. I was thinking about strictly Angler of the Year. I was like, I need to finish as high as I can to get as many points to hopefully finish a few points ahead of Wheeler and Ott to win Angler of the Year. So that was the main thing on my mind the whole week. So practice, I spent pretty much all of my time looking for smallmouth. I literally largemouth fished for 2 hours. I went tucked into one little bay, I guess you would call it, off of the bay, just kind of a little cove almost off of the bay where there was some vegetation and whatnot. And we'll get into that, how that played into it. But I literally practiced for 2 hours for largemouth, caught a few fish and felt decent. If I needed to catch a few fish, I could run in there and catch them. But I spent, 98% of my practice looking for smallmouth out in the lake in, close to the boundary zone. So I found a few fish. I think I only caught, 5 good smallmouth throughout practice, 3 to 5 pounders. So wasn't a whole lot of bites. It was pretty tough fishing smallmouth, but I had one general area, maybe like a 3-mile square, where I had 3 of those 5 bites. So I was like, I'm just going to spend my first day of competition in that area and spend all day there, bounce around, fish everything in that little area, and just kind of play the wind and just milk that area for everything it's worth. So I was Group B, so I got to kind of see the weights from Group A and see how those guys were catching them. And there was a few guys that caught some big bags, and I assumed those were smallmouth just based on what I'd seen by the largemouths. But anyway, I go out for my first day, and we got a different wind direction, like totally opposite wind direction than we had in practice. And it's kind of cloudy. The smallmouth just weren't really biting that first day. I got really frustrated with them. I could see a lot of them, but they just did not want to bite for whatever reason. So I only caught, 6 or 7 smallmouth my first day for, I think, under 13 pounds. I think I had 12, 14 or something like that. Wasn't very good. I was sitting in 26th place, pretty frustrated with the smallmouth and that area in general. So had my next day off. We have a day off in between competition days. So I'm sitting there thinking about it and looking at the weather. We were going to have another pretty windy day and another day that I didn't feel real comfortable about catching those smallmouth or catching enough smallmouth that I needed to move on. So I made a decision. I pulled all the spinning rods, all the smallmouth gear out of my boat. I rigged up a bunch of rods with straight braid, just straight largemouth fishing. And my second day, I went straight to the area that I got a couple bites in that 2 hours of practice that I went largemouth fishing. And it was a lot better than I had even hoped. I think I had 14 pounds in like the first hour and a half. I mean, it was pretty good. I was catching a lot of fish and a few of those 3-pound fish, which were gold on Saginaw Bay. So caught 14 some pounds in like the first hour and a half, and I ended up staying in that area for the first 2 periods. So 2/3 of the day I stayed in that area, but by the end of the second period, I was just slowly falling down the leaderboard because I wasn't upgrading anymore. And, I'm getting down there close to the cut line. It's like, it is ounces make the difference. And I knew my total weight was going to be really close to the cut line. But in my heart, I knew I needed one more 3-pound fish. So I basically sat down in the second period break and looked at my map, and I found an area that looked similar to where I was currently fishing. There was like a little river that dumped into the bay there. So I found another one that looked similar. It was about 10 miles away. I hadn't even been there in official practice that week. I had driven by it in pre-practice about 2 months prior. It was the end of May. I went up there to pre-practice. So we're talking a month and a half, 2 months prior that I was there for pre-practice. I rode by. I'd fished the area around a little bit and caught a couple small fish in pre-practice, but something told me, let's go over there and spend the third period. And I just had to make a change because I knew I had kind of fished out that area I'd spent the first 2 periods. So I made a 10-mile run down to that little zone, and I pulled in. I caught a couple fish right away, but they were all small ones. Kind of milled around that area for an hour and a half or so, and it's getting down to the last hour of the day, and I had fallen to 20th place. I'm sitting on the cut line getting ready to get bumped out.
Man.
And something told me to just keep fishing down this stretch a little bit longer, and I end up catching what was the most important fish of the entire week. It was a 3-3 largemouth that upgraded me, 10 or 12 ounces, and it gave me enough weight to finish 19th place and just slide into that knockout round. And then the weights are zeroed, and from there, the rest is history.
Now, tell me about this fish, this magic fish. What frog fish, a chatterbait, spinnerbait? What was this fish?
No, so it was flipping reeds. So I was flipping a Yamamoto flapping hog with a 3/4 ounce flipping weight, epic tungsten flipping weight, 50-pound braid, straight braid, just jacking them with a trocar straight shank. But I had caught, 5 or 6 like small fish, like 10 to 12 inches in this area. And there was a little point in the reeds. So I told myself, I'm going to fish to that point. Like, that's a high percentage area. And once I get to that point, I'm out of here. I'm going to just go somewhere else and just run until I see something that looks good. So I fished down to that point, and I don't get any bites. So like I'm thinking in my head, all right, we got to go. But for some reason, something in my gut said, just keep flipping down here. It didn't even look good. I don't know why. I kept fishing down the reed line a little bit further. It kind of got shallower. Like I could literally see the bottom of these reeds. There was no reason a bass should have been there. And just kept flipping down. And I'll never forget the bite. I flip my bait in there, sinks to the bottom. I pick up nothing. Pick up again, nothing. Pick up a third time, and it just starts swimming off. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And I set the hook, and I seen it come up right away, and I knew it was a good fish, and I knew in my heart that was the one we needed. So got him in the boat. It weighed 3.3, and as soon as I weighed that fish, like I got goosebumps over my whole body. I don't know why. It was just one of those times where I was like, man, things like that shouldn't happen, and maybe something special is about to happen this week. And I didn't know how it was going to play out at the time, but looking back now, it gives me more goosebumps just thinking about it.
That's amazing. What an amazing fish catch. You felt it. You knew that it was going to be something special, and what a neat deal. And with that bait too, I think you've upset Rich because that's his secret flipping bait. I think.
Oh no.
No, I'm back here just panicking and scratching my neck thinking about flipping down reed lines, and then the next thing that pops into my head is like, how in the world did you say, okay, next time I go out, I'm not doing that, I'm gonna go smallmouth fishing and live scope them, when you're catching them the most fun possible way in the world?
I know. I had that conversation with my camera guy too, Cody Prather. I mean, he was in the boat with me for the second day and through the rest of the tournament, but he we snuck in, made the knockout round, and he got his pairing. He's like, well, I'm with you again tomorrow, so like we're gonna be doing more of the same. And I was like, no, we're going 30 miles out into the middle of the lake, and like we gotta find these smallmouth because that's gonna be my only shot to win. And he's like, no, you're kidding, right? And I'm like, no, I'm pulling all these rods out. We're done. We're going back to the spinning rods, back to the smallmouth, just because on average they're bigger. And I just knew in my heart there had to be a group of them out there somewhere that no one found, or they just showed up somewhere. And that's exactly what we ended up finding in the knockout round.
Boys and girls, this is lesson on how to win a championship. Unbelievable decision.
Masterclass on decision making.
Well, right. I mean, let me say, like, it kind of goes back to my whole approach to the tournament. I mean, I knew I came in just focused on Angler of the Year. Like, I got to win Angler of the Year. That's all I was thinking about. But that freedom came from having such a great season prior to that I was already locked into Red Crest. I was already locked into heavy hitters. So it was like, I really have nothing to lose. All I have to gain is winning the tournament and winning Angler of the Year. Because 11th place through 40th place pay the same. So it's like, I just got to go find these winning fish and not worry about anything else. And so having such a great year up to that gave me that freedom to do that.
So when you made the 20 cut to get to the next round, did that lock up AOY for you?
Oh no, absolutely not. I mean, there was all four of us in contention made the knockout round. And then the knockout round day to make the top 10, 3 of the 4 guys in contention for Angler of the Year made the top 10.
Well, yeah, that's nuts. So it was a pressure cooker. Now day one, the knockout round, how did it go? Like you didn't come out of that in the lead, right? You made the cut, but you were not, KVD stormed out in front. What was your, what were you in 6th place after day one?
I think I was in 5th place.
5th place. Okay.
I think. Yeah. So the knockout round, I went back to the same 3-mile area that I'd fished the first day of competition. And I come to find out that there was quite a few other guys that had fished there the first day of the tournament. So it was kind of beat up already. And that's probably why I didn't catch them that good the first day, just because they got smashed on the first day.
Right.
And I fished there for like the first hour of the day, milled around a little bit. I think I hooked one and lost them. And just really wasn't feeling it. So I knew I had to get out of that area. The pressure was getting to them. So I started venturing around and basically just started practicing. You know, there was a couple other areas that I had 1 or 2 bites in practice, really just 1 bite in practice. Because like I said before, I only caught 5 smallmouth in practice. So just kind of bouncing my way around and working. I knew in my heart that the winning fish were going to be out around the Charity Islands area. Everyone knew it coming in. Everyone practiced out there, but we had a giant full moon in practice, and I think it really messed the fish up and kind of spread them out, didn't group them up out deeper where we were looking for them. So I knew if I just kept looking and looking, I could find something out there. So I went out to the islands and I went to an area where I caught 1 fish in practice. I had 1 4-pound bite there in practice. And I just said, I got out there about the end of the first period, and I'm like, I'm just going to spend probably the whole second period here. I'm going to spend, 3 hours in this area, and I'm just going to look around and hopefully find something. So I start fishing around there, and I catch like a 3-pounder pretty quick, and then a 2-pounder, and get a couple fish on the board. And really the second period is when things all turned around for me. I seen a lot of life. I started seeing a lot of fish, a lot of bait up shallower. And as I start working out a little bit deeper on this point, I catch a glimpse of this school of fish. And I'm 99% sure this is actually the school of fish that I win the tournament on the final day. But I catch a glimpse of them in the knockout round, and I catch one of them, but then I lose track of them. They were just kind of roaming around on this point. There was a group of like 10 to 15 smallmouth that were just swim around this area. And I caught a glimpse of them. I caught one of them in the knockout round, and then they vanished on me. I could never find them again. But I just milled around that area and got a couple key bites. I caught a 4.2 maybe and a 4.15, and that jumped me up. And I think I had close to 18 pounds, 17 something, and sitting in 5th place heading into the final day.
That's awesome. Don't take practice out of your tournament, Riz. That's one of our, one of our guys, John Sokup. I'm sure you know him.
Yeah.
In one of his seminars said that, and it's stuck. It's resonated with us at Bash U, is to not take practice out of your tournament. And so oftentimes guys will get locked into, what they found at practice and not keep that open mind. And that's what you did here. And it's awesome to see and hear this story, because you're developing the pattern, or you're starting to understand the pattern as the tournament goes on, and that's getting you into the winner's circle. But if you're finding yourself now 3 pounds roughly behind the leader going into the final day, knowing KVD like I know him, that's the force to overcome. Did he try to do any mind tricks on you? Did he?
No, I actually didn't see him at all. He was pretty surrounded by media in the morning, and we were trailering this event, so it's not like we were all gathered in the boats waiting for takeoff. We were pretty much meet in one spot in the area, and then we were trailering like an hour away from where the actual meeting and I guess you call takeoff was. So I didn't really get to see him in the morning at all, or I'm sure he was going to play some mind games, because I know he's known for that.
Do a little Larry Bird trash talking, some mental intimidation on the rookie. That would have been his style, I think, maybe. But
for sure. And I mean, I honestly at that point, going out the final day, I mean, it hate to say it, but like I wasn't even considering or thinking about winning the tournament. I literally just had Angler of the Year on my mind. I'm like, I got to catch as much as I can, get as high in the standings as I can, and hope that Jacob Wheeler stumbles, which those words don't even coexist together. I mean, Jacob Wheeler never stumbles. That guy's the best fisherman in the world right now. So all I could do was go out and catch as much as I could and just see how the rest of the results played out. So I wasn't even thinking about winning the tournament. And not to mention, I mean, Van Dam was crushing them. He smoked them all 3 days prior. Like, he had big bags all 3 days. And I didn't see any way that he was going to stumble at all. I figured he was going to catch another 20 plus pounds and just blow it out.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's you're going out that last day, right? You didn't get you didn't get any interaction with Kevin, but you're that's really not your focus. I hear you, right? You're focused on the AOY and trying to separate yourself from Wheeler and Ott at that point. And so you had your work cut out for you. How did you feel going that morning when you were taking off? Were you thrilled that you had this school of fish that you were going to go try to hunt down, or where was your head at?
I did. I mean, I felt very calm going out the final day because I knew, I just had to do my job. There was no nerves or anything. There was no pressure. I just had to go catch as many bass as I could. And, hopefully one of those guys would stumble a little bit and end up sneaking into Angler of the Year. So I didn't feel any pressure or anything. It was very relaxed. I went out there and I was pretty excited about the glimpse of hope that I seen in the knockout round. A fresh group of fish, and they were big smallmouth. They were fresh. They were dumb. They bit instantly, and I was pretty excited about that. So I head out the final day, and I have a really slow first period. So I'm sitting there at the first break. I think I had 2 fish. I'm sitting in last place, 10th place, and I'm starting to doubt it a little bit. I'm like, man, maybe this different wind direction, the clouds today, they're not going to bite. I don't know what's going to happen. These thoughts are running through my mind. Like, maybe you just need to lay up and go largemouth fish and just try and catch a decent bag. I'm starting to think these things in the period break, but it was pretty quick into the second period that I found them again and started catching some big fish. And it wasn't long into the second period. We were on the top. So we went from 10th to 1st and never looked back from there.
Yeah, that was awesome to watch it go down. I was watching most of it, and you made some comments that were interesting to me. You were like, I don't know why these fish are here. They seem to be cruising. There wasn't a rock pile or anything that they were relating to. I believe that's what you said. Have you since thought about it or tried to figure out why they were in that area or what they were doing?
I've been thinking about it the whole drive ever since, and I still have no idea why the group of smallmouth was there. I mean, it was a long tapering point. I mean, there was a couple little strips of rock, just kind of the Great Lakes glacial rock out on this long tapering point, but nothing like your typical Great Lakes or Lake Erie, Lake Ontario stuff where there's a sharp drop or big boulders that typically holds a group of smallmouth. This was just kind of a slow tapering point, and the spot where I actually won the tournament was probably a 100-foot square that this group of 10 to 15 smallmouth would just stay in this little square all day. And where they were sitting was literally nothing. It was straight sand. There was no drop off close by. There was no bait. There was no rock. I have no idea what they were doing there. They were just there. And I would catch a couple and they'd kind of scatter out and spook off and just kind of swim around, and I'd kind of lose them for a little bit, and I'd come back, 45 minutes, an hour later, and they'd be grouped back up tight somewhere in that little square. And I really have no idea why. Thinking about it now, I mean, it probably is an underwater current thing that we couldn't really see, but
yeah,
there was nothing like around that would be a current break or anything, but surely it probably had to do something with the current.
Yeah, I bet you're right. I hadn't really thought about that, but you can see that out, I've been out on the Great Lakes a number of times, and especially Lake St. Clair always sticks in my mind because you can see those current seams on Lake St. Clair when it gets calm, and you can see them probably better there than anywhere. But yeah, those smallmouth definitely relate to those seams. That certainly could explain it.
Absolutely. And I still don't even fully understand Saginaw Bay. I mean, I came into it with the mindset of it's Lake Huron. It's a great lake. Like, it's gonna, I need to find big boulders or rock piles or sharp drops like I would look for on Lake Erie or Lake Ontario or something like that. And, the more I fished there, the more I learned that Saginaw Bay itself sets up nothing like the Great Lakes. You have to fish it totally different, almost like you would a natural inland body of water. It sets up more like its own body of water where they just kind of roam around and get on flatter stuff.
Well, Amazing. You closed it out, and what an amazing end to the year. The you had a big eventful year, right? You had a lot of great events this year. Take us through that a little bit. What are some of your highlights and your lowlights from this year's AOY?
Man, as far as low points, like the first tournament of the year at Kissimmee Chain, I remember after that tournament, I think I finished 47th. I didn't make the knockout round. That's the only knockout round I didn't make this year. But it was literally the first tournament of the year. I had a great first day. I was sitting in 7th place after the first day. And, I kind of made a rookie mistake. I got a little too confident in what I was doing. And I decided to just start the second day practicing rather than catching enough weight and then practicing. I was like, I'm just going to practice and try and find something new, something fresh. And in the process, I'll catch enough weight to make the knockout round and move on. But that didn't work out too well. So I learned my lesson on there. And honestly, it may have cost me at different tournaments throughout the year because I found myself making sure that I caught enough fish to make the knockout round before I laid off them. So it probably cost me. Definitely at like Lake Murray, it comes to mind that the first 2 days of the tournament, I leaned on them pretty hard just because I didn't want to have Kissimmee happen again. I wanted to make sure I caught enough before I laid off and started practicing. So that was probably the lowest point of the year because I was so frustrated. I lost a couple fish that would have bumped me in there, but that's going to happen. That's besides the point. It was more my decision making to do that rather than going to where I knew the fish were and catch them. So that really frustrated me off the year. And from there, I was super motivated to make it up and get as many points as I can. So from there on, the rest of the season, the last 6 events, I got 4 top 10s and 2 top 20s. So it was a great year. The one that I'm probably the most proud of is Lake Guntersville because I always considered the Tennessee River my weakness, my nemesis. So to have a good finish there, I caught 30 pounds on the first day of competition as the first 30-pound bag I ever caught. So, man, what an incredible year.
That's an awesome stringer. The Dirty 30 on Guntersville. Well, you said it. You're from Pittsburgh. I mean, how are you being competitive in these southern bodies of water? I'm imagining, right? You probably had a little Great Lakes experience when you started down this journey, but a lot of these southern bodies of water must have been new to you.
Oh yeah, I mean, some of my earliest memories fishing is my dad taking me to Erie. So I've been on Lake Erie my entire life, always catching the big smallmouth. And, once I started getting into bigger tournaments myself on my own, I went straight to Erie. That was really the only major body of water that had big tournaments that you could really spend some time and figure out was Lake Erie. So I went there and I remember spending weeks at a time up in Lake Erie, just learning how to smallmouth fish, learning the Great Lakes, learning how to drive in the big water, how to fish in the big water, all that stuff. And I've just fell in love with the Great Lakes and smallmouth fishing. So that's something that I'll never lose. I mean, now that I live in Tennessee, it still doesn't matter. I'm still taking a trip to Erie every spring just to catch the smallmouth just because I love it so much.
What's your favorite Erie? Are you east guy, like the Buffalo area, or do you like down at the Bass Islands area?
Man, so I always went to Prescott in Pennsylvania just because it was 2 hours straight north of Pittsburgh. But Buffalo is incredible. I mean, as far as probably the best fishery on Lake Erie right now, the best side would be Buffalo. I mean, they catch 30-pound bags out there every spring and fall. But once the summer hits, those fish just really start roaming out in the middle of the lake, and they're kind of hard to follow.
Yeah, that's Buffalo is an amazing, and we haven't had tournaments there for a while. So, like the big tournaments haven't gone there for quite a while. I hope to get to go back there again. It's awesome to see them fish up there. I love it, except for the wind. Which
that's the problem with Buffalo. Hide. That's the problem with Buffalo is you get any sort of southwest wind and you can't even fish. You're stuck. You're stuck behind the break wall.
Oh man, we had a open there, and I know you probably been here before, but they took us off, and it was probably 4-footers, and the wind intensified through the day, and we had to negotiate like 10, 12-foot waves to get back into the breakwater.
Oh geez.
At the end of the day, and yeah, just tremendous waves in that part of the lake when the wind blows out of the south. But,
yeah, there's so much deep water close there that it lets those waves build so big, and there's no protection at all that they get really big over in Buffalo.
So how did you get good at the rest? What's the secret sauce? Did you just jump in the tournament trails and just pre-practicing the school of hard knocks, learning these bodies of water? Did you take trips with your dad down south? How did you develop your skill set?
No, I mean, pretty much all self-taught. I fished around Pittsburgh a lot, so I fished the Three Rivers all the time, fished a bunch of tournaments on those. So with a good group of guys that kind of took me under their wing and, taught me all of the ropes around Pittsburgh. But, as I started getting into bigger tournaments, like the Bass Nation kind of stuff, we would travel to like Potomac River or Finger Lakes, Oneida, that kind of stuff. So I started getting a little more regionally based and making the divisionals or the regionals and going, somewhere a little bit further south. I know going to Bugs Island was a big eye opener for me, but just going to those tournaments and, I struggled. Don't get me wrong. Like I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't belong there. So, but when you struggle, at least for me, I learned so much more than when you just show up and catch them. So
right.
Every time I had a tough day, I would just think about it and, do some research or do some studying on what I did wrong or what I need to do, and then apply it the next time I go out and just continue that. I mean, literally my whole life is just eat, sleep, breathe bass fishing. It's all I ever do. Every single day I'm doing something or researching something to get better at bass fishing. And it's been that way for as long as I can remember. So it just kind of snowballed from there. And here we are. I can't believe it.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. And you're on a great track because you've won before this one, obviously. But do you think living in the Three Rivers area, because there's no fish there, has helped your mental toughness and in being able to
definitely
deal
like
with
I think mental toughness is one of my greatest strengths from growing up fishing there, just because you're in for a tough day of fishing, and that just you got to stay focused all day long. You can't let up for 1 minute, and it's really helped me because, as I started fishing more tournaments there, I really learned the importance of making sure you land every bite. So when you're not getting many bites throughout the day, you got to make sure that they count and you put them in the boat. So I've always prided myself in that I want to make sure that my equipment's top notch. I got the right hook, the right line, the right rod, everything for whatever technique I'm throwing to maximize my chance of landing fish, just because bites are so critical, especially, where I grew up fishing, that it just programmed me that way, that you got to make sure your equipment is exactly right every single cast of the day, because you cannot afford to lose a fish.
Wow, that's a bold statement. That's fascinating study.
That's juice right there.
Yeah.
And it applies to so many facets of tournament fishing, other than just growing up on, say, the Three Rivers. I mean, efficiency is huge. Efficiency is almost king in this sport. And, it's the little things you don't think about. Like, yeah, we all think about, okay, we got to make sure that our treble hooks are fresh and all, but what about all the other baits? Like, how often do you touch the tip of your chatterbait hook to make sure that it doesn't have a turnover on it? How often do you look at your flipping hooks? Like all those little things, like how frequently are you retying? How, it's.
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, Matt. What did you do? How do you do that? How do you make sure that you're going to land every fish? Do you like test equipment out and assess your strike to catch ratios? Do you practice landing fish by like what is your strategies to maximize the landing of every fish?
All of it. I mean, all of it. It is like, it starts from literally day one that you start thinking about bass fishing. I mean, everything from just trying different hooks in a bait, trying things. So let's just take, for instance, a fluke or a D-shad, Yamamoto D-shad. Like, I threw that a lot in Pittsburgh. And when the first time I rigged up a fluke, it was with like a 3/0 EWG hook. And that's probably the most standard hook that everyone uses. And you go out, you might catch a few fish, but you notice, or I noticed, that I started losing fish or missing fish. So I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So then I started experimenting with like a round bend style hook. It's a little bit longer, different gap, and I started catching more fish that way, but I was still missing some. So I start messing with it a little more, and I end up settling on a straight shank hook, exposed style. So whenever those fish even nip at it, there is no plastic in the way, that they just get the straight hook. So just little things like that, and just spending so much time on the water and doing those sort of things with every technique and everything that you do, messing with different treble hooks, different size line, different rods. I mean, it's so much time and effort behind the scenes that nobody ever sees or talks about, that I make sure that I spend, to know that if a tournament day comes along and I just want to pull out a random shaky head, that I know I got the best shaky head that's going to hook the fish and land the fish every single time, So
yeah.
I know I have the utmost confidence in my equipment and everything, every technique. And if there is a technique that I don't feel that comfortable with, I'm going to spend days on the water in the off season, or even during the middle of the season, in between tournaments, dialing it in and figuring it out, just because if for some reason I need to use that technique in a tournament, I want to know that I'm confident in what I'm doing or what I'm using.
When we were talking about the Erie and the big water, we had a question come in from Howie Range, and he wants to know, how did you learn to control your boat in the big water, and especially dealing with wind and rain like you had at Saginaw Bay? What was that process like?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up fishing with an old boat. I mean, I was just a broke kid from Pittsburgh, so I had no fancy equipment, no boat. I mean, when I started going to Erie after I graduated high school, I bought a $3,000 Ranger bass boat. It was a 370V, I believe, or 373V with a 150. It was a 1987. This is an old boat. I mean, I couldn't imagine how rough it was riding in the waves now that I'm in a nice Phoenix. Like, I couldn't imagine, but it taught me so much about, just driving through the waves and controlling the boat. One tip, if you're drifting, which, I used to do a lot of drifting, but now the equipment's so good with new trolling motors and spot lock, and especially live scope has changed how I fish. But whenever I was drifting a lot, you could turn your motor on the back of the boat one direction, and that helps keep the nose of the boat kind of sideways with the waves, so that you can fish properly and the boat's not wanting to turn to drift with the waves. So it just kind of helps. Little things like that I've learned over the years. But it still applies today for sure.
I was watching you fish. Of course, you fish barefoot,
yeah,
which is a lot of guys. Ott does it too. I think that might help for some stability in the rough water. I was thinking that probably helps, because I know you're one of the few that's out in those giant waves with no butt seat, no leaning post.
Yeah.
You're just balancing on your tippy toes.
I enjoy it.
Take note.
So I'm probably a little weird in that sense, but I love the big water. I love the waves. Like, I love fishing in them. They don't bother me at all. I hate a seat up there. It just gets in your way. And whenever you take your balance off your feet, like, you're throwing your whole balance off your body. So whenever those waves are rocking, or you go to stand up to land a fish, like, you're not prepared for it. You're not used to the boat rocking side to side or up and down. So, that's why I choose not to use a seat. Just because I want my legs and my whole body adjusted to the conditions. So whenever I have to get off of that seat, that I'm fine. You know, it feels normal. So I can run around the boat just fine and not feel like I'm just got out in the waves or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it goes back to my younger days of always fishing on Erie, and I've enjoyed the big water so much. You know, you got to definitely have to respect it. Like the Mother Nature can hurt you in a hurry. Those waves can get really big. They can sink your boat, but I am confident in it. I love it. And it doesn't scare me, but I definitely respect the waves for sure.
Yeah, that's a true statement. For me, I fall in when the water's calm. So in rough water, I need a little help. I want
to get you a seatbelt.
Yeah.
Yes, some swimmies, a seatbelt, you name it. I need it. The question I have for you, because you talk about the importance of getting fish in the boat, because I just fished the Open up on Thousand Islands, and tying into some of those big. I was fortunate on day 2 to get some of those 4 and 5 pounders. They challenged the death out of me landing those fish. What have you learned to be efficient about it? Because you're pretty comfortable. I see a lot of people struggle with that process, myself included. I think I was wrestling with it. What have you learned about that process as far as getting those fish in the boat as efficiently as possible?
Yeah, so I mean, when I'm fighting a big smallmouth, to me, I'm extremely confident in my equipment, you know, my rod, my reel, my line, my hooks. So I am taking my time. I like to keep my drag fairly tight for the hook set, but once I hook that fish, I back that drag way off and just let that fish do his thing. Because like I said, I got confidence in my equipment. You just let all your equipment do the job, let that fish tire himself out, keep steady pressure on him. And eventually he's going to come up, and he's going to be pretty tired by the time he gets to the side of the boat. So he's not going crazy and, you know, jumping all around. And that's usually when disaster happens, when you get a fish up and he's too hot still. So that's probably the biggest problem I see with people landing fish, especially smallmouth, is just not taking your time and trying to horse them in and trying to land them while they're still too fresh. Like they're amazing creatures. Like they never give up. So you gotta take your time. And I know that the fish at Saginaw, we're fighting so hard, like harder than an average fish for sure. So some of those battles were 2-3 minutes. I mean, I'm just letting my drag go, letting my rod, my reel, my line do all the work. And then by the time they get up next to the boat, they're pretty tired. You can just scoop them or eagle claw them, I call, when you just clamp over their gill plate and scoop them in the boat.
Yeah. That 3 minutes is like 3 years in real time.
Yeah.
In a tournament situation, you're like, get in the boat, man.
I know, like, come on. And that's where trouble happens when you start getting impatient. You just got to let them do their thing. And, you know, just, I feel like half the time I'm just sitting there praying the whole time, like, Lord, please help me land this fish. Come on.
That's a good use of that time. I promise you. It's a stressful situation, but you were using a drop shot, a shad shaped worm. What was your hook that your confidence hook, your line? I'm assuming you're using braid to a leader.
Yeah, so we'll go through the whole setup. So it's a favorite hex spinning rod. It's a 7'2" medium heavy. You guys hear a medium heavy, you probably think it's a little heavy, but favorite spinning rods run a little lighter than other brands. So it's more like a medium in some brands. So it's a 7'2" medium heavy spinning rod. You got to have a good high-end spinning rod with a good drag. That's the most important thing in fighting the big smallmouth. But yeah, like you mentioned, 15-pound Seaguar Smackdown braid in the flash green color, and then I tie a FG knot to a Seaguar Tatsu fluorocarbon. So generally I use 8 or 10 pounds. So I start with 10-pound fluorocarbon, and if I'm getting bites, then I'm just sticking with that. If I get to really clean water, or I feel like I need to downsize a little bit, I'll go to 8 and rarely 6, but it's always going to be that Seaguar Tatsu fluorocarbon. It's the strongest, best fluorocarbon I've ever used, and it is just excellent for reeling in those big smallmouth. Then when I'm smallmouth fishing, I am 100% of the time throwing a shad-shaped worm. I've caught so many smallmouth on it. It goes back to the confidence thing. You know, I used to have all these different smallmouth baits, gulp minnows, gulp gobies, robo worm. I mean, so many different baits. And I always found myself going back to the Yamamoto shad-shaped worm. So essentially, I've gotten rid of all the other smallmouth drop shot baits and just totally got rid of them out of my mind. Whenever I'm smallmouth fishing, I'm going with a shad-shaped worm. And I like to use a nose hook. So I use it's a number 4 Trocar TK150 drop shot hook. It's similar to your other brand drop shot hooks, but with the Trocar, their sizes run a little bit bigger than other brands. So the number 4 Trocar is similar to like a number 2 in other brands. So it's still a pretty small hook, but not as small as you might think when you first hear the number 4. So that's the setup I was using there. And then an Epic Tungsten Teardrop drop shot weight in 3/8 or half, just depending on the depth of the water and the wind and conditions. But I'm basically taking that shad-shaped worm and I nose hook it. Actually, I got a pack right here because we were just doing some pictures. So this is the bait that I used to win the tournament and essentially Angler of the Year. And it's pretty special because it's a color that I designed this year for Fish USA. So Fish USA is an online tackle retailer that they wanted to do an exclusive color in this. So I designed this bait right here. I don't know how good you guys can see it. It's a 2-tone bait. So it's a laminate. The bottom is natural shad color. And then the top is like a dark green pumpkin. So it's an excellent goby imitator, perch imitator, even a shad alewife imitator. I mean, it looks so natural in the water. And that's what I wanted with this bait, because a lot of times when you get cloudier days, they can't see your lighter baits. So probably majority of the time I go to the natural shad color first, but whenever you get darker conditions or a little bit dirtier water, that's when I wanted this color. And I literally designed it for the exact situation that we had on the final day. And to have all those big smallmouth eat the bait and the color that I designed, it just is just meant to be. It was just so special of a day.
What a thrill. What a cool bait. No secret sauce. You don't have the taku special sauce powder.
Hey, we got a little secret sauce we dumped in there. We soak them overnight in a little secret sauce, but I don't know if we want to talk about that just yet.
Another custom we got secret smallmouth sauce. There's something about that, Riz.
Hey, I will say
smallmouth sauce.
I will say smallmouth, they love scent. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they can actually smell it or if it's in my head, but anytime I'm smallmouth fishing, I'm soaking my baits in some scent. It's really nothing secret. I just like to use a garlic oil, just a little something in there just to make it smell a little better and help them hold on to it a little longer.
Nice. Awesome.
I was reading that taku's scent is shrimp. It's like a shrimp smell. So
yeah,
do you think that has to do it? Is yours shrimpy?
No, mine is straight garlic. It smells like you're in an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, I got an idea, Pete. So like when I cook, 90% of the time I use the same concoction. It's olive oil, salt, pepper, paprika, and Italian seasoning, and some minced garlic in there. I might start soaking my
secret
baits in
sauce.
I don't
Try
know.
it. You'll be surprised.
I like it. We got some other IM questions.
We do, yeah. So Howie wants to know, Matt, do you use an AquaView camera or a flogger, and did it come into play at all during the tournament?
Great question.
Yes, I use both of those. They both have a time and a place for sure. So the AquaView camera is really, I mean, it was a pretty well kept secret for a while, but it's kind of come out the last few years. And the thing about the AquaView is it is a excellent tool to just quickly drop down there when you find a group of fish and find out if they're bass, they're walleye, they're drum, whatever they might be. Because whenever you're idling and you find a group of fish or see them on your live scope, sometimes it can be hard to tell the difference because those 3 species look very similar on your sonar. So the AquaView, you drop it down there, you can tell if they're bass, they're sheephead, drum, walleye, whatever, you know, in seconds, you know what they are. So you don't even have to fish for them. You can just use it in practice and know. That's really the only time that I like to use it. I don't like to spend a whole lot of time staring at the screen. I would rather be idling or looking at my live scope than just aimlessly looking at the aqua view. But whenever I find a group of fish and maybe they won't bite, or I just don't even want to fish for them, you drop that camera down there and you know instantly what they are. And that's a huge help and a benefit whenever you're practicing. And then the flogger, I mean, of course, you got to use a flogger whenever you're fishing for spawn and smallmouth. So the flogger played a big role at Cayuga this year in that spawn and smallmouth tournament for sure.
Yeah, that was a big player in that tournament. You got another question for?
I know that you mentioned that you looked up to KVD while growing up, but who was the first person to introduce you into fishing?
Oh, my dad. I mean, I was fishing before I can even remember. I mean, I'm sure he has pictures somewhere of me fishing when I'm, you know, not even 2 years old. He had me out in the boat fishing. So I've been in the boat my entire life. I don't ever remember not fishing or not being ate up with bass fishing. I mean, it's for my entire life.
Our subscriber Sean wants to know, at what moment did you realize that you wanted to be a pro angler?
That's a good question. You know, I can't think of like an exact moment. You know, I always loved fishing and, you know, wanted to fish as much as I could, but I would say it wasn't until I was in my teens that I realized, like, hey, you can actually do this for a living. Like, you can make money. And it was probably around that time when with that picture with Kevin at the Bassmaster Classic, when they came to Pittsburgh, that was really my first exposure to a major tournament. So it was probably sometime around then where I'm like, man, this is really cool. Like, this is something that I could do. But again, I mean, it was just a pipe dream at that time. I had no idea how to get there or how to even start to get to where I'm at today. And not to mention, didn't even have the money or any sort of means to do it. I mean, my dad and I fished out of a 16-foot aluminum deep V boat. Like that was all we could afford. That's all we had. So that's all I fished out of until I graduated high school, when I bought a $3,000 Ranger bass boat and started fishing more tournaments. So probably about when I was 16, I really started taking it upon myself to get better and not just go fishing with my dad and fish little club tournaments. You know, at 16, I joined the Bass Nation, started fishing as a co-angler a little bit. And then once I got that Ranger, I started fishing as a boater, and just kind of snowballed ever since then. And, you know, I look back a few special moments that happened throughout the year, and like literally this parking lot I'm sitting in right now doing this interview is where my life changed and this entire career started, when winning a Toyota Series event right here that gave me the money to fish the FLW Tour the next year. Otherwise, I never even would have been close to being able to afford to fish the FLW Tour. And it's turned into a Bass Pro Tour championship and an Angler of the Year and $200,000. I mean, I can't believe it.
I see that big $100,000 check back there. That looks pretty sexy back there.
Yeah. Yeah. I like those. I need more of those.
Would you get 100 for the AOY and 100 for the tournament?
Yes, sir. 100 for each.
Wow. Well, I guess you can afford a few more entry fees now.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good.
Man, well, I want to ask you this. We're going to let you go. I know you're taking some time to talk with us. You're going to go try to fish a tournament this week. But I had a question about transducers. I know some of the guys are running multiple forward-facing transducers now, up to 5 on their boats. Are you in that group? Are you? How are you rigging your forward-facing?
Now, I don't have 5, but I do have 2 on my trolling motor, and I'm considering adding a 3rd for perspective mode. But on the front of my boat where all the live scoping goes down, so I have I like the Garmin live scope better than the other brands, but I'm not just one brand loyal. I use all the brands on my boat. You know, I want to use what excels at each little niche that each brand has. So I like the Garmin Live Scope. I have the Live Scope Plus, the LVS 34. So I mount my main Live Scope transducer on the head of my trolling motor down by the prop, just because I want it as low in the water as possible. And I want to be able to get it dialed in and be able to see the best, because whenever you're scoping around and covering water, I want it on the head of the trolling motor so I can, cover water efficiently and not have to take my foot off the trolling motor pedal. So I have that one connected to actually a 16-inch Garmin unit, the 8616. And that's the one that I stare at the most. That's the one that does the bulk of my work. And then I have a pole mount mounted to the trolling motor as well that has another live scope for situations when I would spot lock. I can scan with that. It's essentially like another trolling motor shaft that I can scan around with a separate foot pedal and get lined up on where I should be casting without my boat moving. So I can anchor my boat, spot lock in one spot, and point that live scope transducer wherever I need to be throwing. And that's more for structure fishing. If I'm fishing a ledge or a brush pile or something like that, I can anchor the boat so I don't have to worry about controlling the boat, and then point that one wherever I need to be casting and make sure that my bait's hitting the spot every single time.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it seems like everything's going in that direction with the multiple transducer units. And I imagine you're going to be using them this week.
Yeah.
Up there at the Toyota on Thousand Islands. Are you where are you launching that tournament out of?
The tournament's launching out of Messina, so it's a long ways down the river, I guess.
You making the run?
Well, I mean, we just got here to Clayton. This is where I generally fish. Is this region? This is where I know the best. So we got a few hours of practice here over the next 2 days. So hopefully we find something.
Well, what you have that nobody else has right now is momentum, and that is priceless. Yes. And you have experience here, and you've already got a W on this body of water. So I would certainly consider you a threat and wish you all the best. And want to thank you so much for taking a little practice time to visit with us, man. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate you working with us at the Classic this year. We're very excited to be releasing your tight lining seminar that you did with Bass University this year. We're thrilled to have that. Thanks so much for working with us.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm excited to share that with all the subscribers. That kind of goes back to what we touched on earlier about, the preparation and techniques that I wasn't really familiar with, that I spent days upon days working on that technique and perfecting it, getting the right jig head, the right bait, the right line, the right rod, all of that for it. So all that juicy information is going to be in that seminar that's coming soon.
Awesome. Well, we'll let you know when it hits hits the shelves, which should be this week, next week at the latest, and hopefully maybe you'll be holding up another trophy by the time that seminar gets released.
That would be something, that's for sure.
Well, congratulations again. Thanks so much, and wish you best this week and at the upcoming Redcrest.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Matt Becker, the champ. Yes, thank you, buddy. Man, oh man. AOY, Big W. Come on.
Yep.
That's the pinnacle, Rich.
That's it. 200,000 greenbacks to go catching some green and brown fish.
200 G's. That's a nice little
I think I'll get into fishing.
You better get started,
I
Jocelyn.
better.
You got to start. Well, it starts with one catch.
That's true.
We're going to
So
get
does
that
the
soon.
Bass Pro Tour not do anything with Rookie of the Year?
I guess
Just
not.
Nothing at all.
I guess not.
I guess.
That's crazy.
Very
But
interesting.
He is that as
He
well.
should have 3 trophies
Should have 3 trophies.
and 3 checks.
Yeah, that's interesting. Nobody addressed that as his ROI. I know, of course, they do it on the elites now, but they didn't. I mean, that's sort of relatively
They didn't
new.
do it. You would have been an ROI, right, Pete?
I would have been. I was an ROI.
You was.
Not would have been. I was the ROI.
Give it to him.
Just no check. I'm still waiting on the check and the trophy, but that was back in 1797. Before any of these trophies came around. But guys, what a great day. We're going to be giving away some really cool prizes. If you're watching on social, like and share the feed. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to be putting together our grand prize question. So get ready. We've got a great prize pack that we're giving away, including Cortland line, which I love, and missile baits, a custom color, only available at Tackle Direct. But we're going to be giving away that stuff shortly, as well as Waterwood crankbaits for liking and sharing the feed. So we'll be right back after this. I'm Pete Gluzak, the Dean of the Bass University, and we're excited to partner with Waterwood Baits and showcase their innovative handmade approach to making amazing lures.
Hey guys, this is Elite Series Pro Todd Alton here. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about the company Waterwood and their crankbaits and topwaters they're building. They're high quality baits. They're made from a marupa wood that's, grows in the rainforest in Brazil. It's 1.5 in all of the Waterwood baits because of the wood will be a staple in my arsenal from here on out. I love it. Spotted bass. It's got the old Waterwood.
Oh.
All right, so you guys know.
Oh, we're back.
Cortland Line Master Braid, America's premium super braided fishing line. Manufactured in our Cortland, New York facility and constructed from the highest quality Spectra fibers available. Cortland Line Company, made in America since 1915.
I have to have the best eyewear.
My eyes are essential to doing my job.
It's the highest quality lens that I've ever used.
Top of the line performance in these glasses.
But they're priced for absolutely everyone. The everyday angler can afford them.
As a touring professional pro, if I can depend on them, I know the weekend angler can as well. Hobie eyewear, built for the pros.
Price for everyone.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Lot going on in fishing. What a crazy week it has been. I want to congratulate KVD on his retirement, his last official regular season tournament. Of course, we'll see him at the championship, and who knows where we'll see him again. But want to invite you guys to check out all of KVD's instructional content. Some of the most viewed and powerful teaching seminars on Bass University are with Kevin, especially some of his crankbait seminars and his how to fish deep, fast, amazing stuff with Kevin. And we look forward to working with him anytime in the future. Congratulations on the retirement. But we had a great seminar from a very popular angler that is making his way out on the Bass Pro Tour, Ryan Salzman, Rich, that was released last Thursday.
Yeah. Last week's release on Thursday was how to be a proficient angler. And man, wow, what a seminar. The first thing I'll note is just the absolute the energy that Ryan brings as an instructor and just his approach to fishing in general. He puts himself in the right mindset to go out and compete on the water every day. And he did the same thing in this seminar. He actually had our classroom for that one up and doing stretches, Pete, because it was after lunch and everybody was tired. So he took us through a little bit of his past military experience and got us all stretching and moving around to get active for this seminar. But diving into the seminar itself, it really is a great tutorial on how to be in the right headspace to fish, and then also the nitty gritty stuff, the preparation that has to come along with the sport of fishing. And it actually kind of ties right back into what we just talked about with Matt, and that's making sure that everything is ready to go before you start your day, whether that's just going out for a tournament or that's just going out for a day on the water. The difference between one or two fish making it in the boat, man, that's the difference between a good fun day and maybe a slower day. And, in addition to that, for any of our audience or viewers or subscribers that are interested in maybe making fishing into a career, Ryan also breaks down kind of the process of how that has to take place, the steps that you need to take and the journey that you need to really indulge yourself in And he was a Bash University, or still is a Bash University student, a subscriber. He's a student of Ike. He learned a lot from Ike, and he really goes through his whole process of becoming a proficient angler, and that's why we decided to use that title for that seminar. So it's a really good one. It's the kind that I geek out on those, Pete. I love the mental side of fishing, the approaches, how to make the right decisions, how to prepare yourself the most. I personally, that's my favorite kind. So if you enjoy that stuff too, I think you'll really like this seminar.
Yeah, that was that mental side, those little tips, those little tiny tidbits that help you in your game, whether it's your decision making or really Matt talked about it, and the importance of landing fish, making sure that your system, no matter what technique you're using, is at its best, the best that you can make it to get that fish in the boat. And I know Jake and I are working on his system because he lost 2 giants this weekend, and he's still very upset about it. So we got to work on his system, but we got hopefully. But Matt Becker tight lining seminar is going to be released very soon. We'll keep you posted on that. Maybe this week, certainly next week. But what do we have on the schedule for this week?
Coming up this week, we have our on water release this week is going to be Noah Schultz, offshore grass fishing strategies with a Ned rig, and that's a really cool one because at least for me, I don't typically think of a Ned rig as a grass bait, but this is a guy that he hails from the Minnesota area, an extremely accomplished angler in that region. In fact, Noah Schultz just won another major championship up there to add to his accomplishments of Champions Tour and everything, all the giant trails up there. He really does well, and he showed us that you can throw a Ned rig out in 12 to 18 feet of water and throw it through vegetation and catch both species, largemouth and smallmouth. So that's a really cool one. You're definitely going to want to check out. And then this is a great one, Pete. On Thursday this week, we are releasing Keith Combs' run and gun strategies. And man, that's a fun one because I think that when you get on that pattern where you can run and gun and you know exactly what you're going to catch them on and you're covering miles and miles of the lake throughout the day, that's such a fun way to fish. And Keith is extremely versatile in his approach when he has that run and gun pattern going on, and he really shares with us how that applies to his fishing. And I know we got a lot of Bash you guys out there in Texas. You're going to want to tune into this one because he's an East Texas hammer. So check that one out as well.
Awesome schedule and lineup as usual with the best anglers in the world teaching about what they're really good at. Jocelyn, what's going on in your world?
Well, today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and how that AI has now come out with a platform where you can create your own baits.
What?
And I was reading the Bass Blaster, and this is what they created. They asked it to create a pink lizard, and this is what came up. Would you throw this?
No.
No. He agrees. He's going to stick to actual intelligence. But I thought this was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's fascinating. But
I mean, check this thing out. Like the top one, like your hookup percentage is going to be outstanding. Every fish that bites is going to be dead. But you got a lot of hooks going on there.
It looks like a Swiss Army knife unfolded.
Yeah, seriously.
What bait would you create with artificial intelligence?
Senko.
That's the question that I would ask artificial intelligence is create the bait that would give me the most strikes in any situation.
Right.
That's the bait. I don't know what it looks like. Right.
It looks like a Z-Man jackhammer chatterbait.
In your world, in my world, it looks like a black Senko. Yeah. So some version thereof. Shout out to the Bass Blaster, always delivering some cool and interesting stuff. And it's funny, those baits look radical and weird, but like I had the jackhammer in my boat for a year before I decided to throw because I thought that looked weird. So what do I know?
Give it another year. They'll make something that'll You know,
But-
Taco
Crazy.
Ito will be
Yeah,
throwing and catching
the-
6-pound smallies.
The hairy cube. or
Yeah, the sugar cube or
yeah,
candy cube.
the tentacle cube, whatever it is. It's
Maybe
funny.
he used AI.
Yeah, it's funny we got that Matt uses the special sauce, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it.
Sneaky. You ought to try it.
I'm gonna do a little bit of research on that and maybe talk to some of our friends in the soft plastic world and try to get a feel for how do you make scent actually soak into a bait? Because
Well, also with the bass blast I was reading, Taku's it's a powder that it like as soon as they put it in the water, it sticks to the bait, so it like forms like a hard shell around it almost.
And one of the things, especially with the oils, is it's actually designed to leave the bait and have a trail slick or scent slick that fish can adhere to. There's a lot of science that goes into all this stuff.
what are you a believer in scent, Pete? Like generally speaking,
It's low on my list, and I think I always am trying to improve. When I was up smallmouth fishing, I was experimenting with a lot of different scents. And the funny one year that I was using Gulp was when Gulp just came out. My co-angler on Lake Oneida proceeded to put the beat down on me by using Gulp, and then he would rub smelly jelly on top of the Gulp. So you got two massive scents going after each other, but yet the smallmouth was swimming right past my bait to his. So
Dan Allen said blueberry flavor.
Blueberry.
I would pick that.
That's what Taku's powder is. The powder is blueberry.
Is it?
So he soaks it in whatever liquid scent, and he puts the blueberry powder on it. So when he touches the bait, that his hands smell like blueberry and not the the shrimp scent. That's what he said on stage, at least.
Not the bad shrimp scent.
Well, it's certainly there's something to it, Rich. I'm honestly, it's underutilized by me for largemouth. I use it a lot for smallmouth, and I think it's always a part of my game that I want to step up with when you finalize your Italian or oregano infused olive oil scenario. Let me know.
I'm gonna do it because I can't cook anything with my concoction that won't taste good. So I'm thinking the fish might.
Maybe you could cook the worms in it.
Yeah. Save that leftover juice in the bottom of the bag.
Crawfish juice.
Grind
there
it
you go.
Boil it.
Yeah, that yellow stuff that rolls down your forearm when you're eating the crawfish. That's put that in the can.
Crabs.
Well, last chance to like and share the feed, guys, over on social. Let's ask our grand prize question.
All
Rich,
right,
what do you got?
Do it. All right. So we were talking with Matt about fishing out there in those big waves, and he first learned how to fish in the big waves and navigate the big waves in what boat. He mentioned the manufacturer and he mentioned the model. I need to hear both of those. What was the manufacturer and the model of Matt's first boat?
Awesome. What an awesome story, because he said that boat was not built for the rough stuff. So he learned how to run the rough stuff in a boat that was not quite there for that. Dan Allen's back.
Dan Allen back on it. That was quick. 1987 Ranger and a 370V.
370V
with a 150.
Yep.
With a 150.
And when it dropped off the waves, it went thud.
Thud.
That's the way we built them back then. The boats are so much better at handling that big water now. Love that part about them. So do all the people that have to traverse it. So good to have you back, Dan. You haven't won for like 2 days.
2 days.
So glad to have you back in. Enjoy the Cortland line. Let us know your experiences with it. We love it, and I'm using it. I used it a lot up at Thousand Islands. The high vis 10-pound test master braid. Just amazing line at managing those big 4 and 5 pound smallmouth. I think you're going to love it too. Guys, we're going to be back next week with another Bass University Live. What do you got, Josh?
We got a like and share winner is Pete Hireshoff.
Thank you, Pete, for liking and sharing the feed. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Riz. Thanks, Jocelyn. We look forward to seeing all of you guys right back here next week. Another episode of Bass U Live.